When there's so much negativity surrounding one desired goal, there's little to no hope of growth, prosperity, and reputation. However, for Qatar, future looks different. Qatar have faced stiff opposition from Western countries ahead of the 2022 FIFA World Cup for its open denial of flexibility towards un-Islamic practices. Many Western countries, Switzerland, Germany, Belgium, the United States, Denmark, Wales, England, and the Netherlands have protested and spoken out against the restrictions imposed by Qatar on fans visiting the World Cup stadiums. These protests began as soon as FIFA awarded Qatar the right to host the World Cup 10 years ago. Initially, news and protests circulated on social media were for labor abuse. However, the emphasis has now shifted entirely to restrictions on beer and illegal relationships under Qatari laws. It is unfortunate to say, however, factually correct that these negations were to be expected from the West, since it is frequently observed that these states find it easy to tell other countries to change their ways in order to allow them to integrate well, regardless of how badly never-ending Western demands and complaints about other cultures affect people globally. The important thing to remember here is that these restrictions were imposed not only to protect Islamic practices, but also to eliminate the source of multiple crimes, potential abuse, and dangerous verbal exchanges that can also occur during World Cup matches under the influence of intoxicants. Qatar undoubtedly proceeded with these bans to keep the fans secure without discriminating against any group or nationality, as Islam protects the rights of minorities, regardless of whether they worship idols or anything else. The amusing thing about these negotiations is that none of the Western countries has ceased receiving gas and oil from Qatar. Instead, they only want to put an end to games played on Arab lands. But why? To know the clear intent behind such aggressive stances is hard. Still, the whole propaganda does not seem to focus on human rights issues, which should be the main focus, as it is concerning and needs to be taken into account by the Qatari authorities. Sadly, the focus is more on what Qatari culture shouldn't be. The vast majority of Western fans have avoided the World Cup just because of the Qatari restrictions. Many of them took to their social media to express their objections to Qatar, that they didn't want Qatar to have it in the first place. And some clearly said it shouldn't have been happening in that region, indirectly insinuating bigotry and racism toward Arabic speakers. That simultaneously fueled discussion on what the West precisely wants from the Arabs or the Muslims. The main targets of criticism are Qatar's tradition and laws, which are, as we all know, derived from Islam. Fans of Qatar from across the world are becoming wary of the continued hostility as a result of this. They are persuaded that the issue is really one of racism or Islamophobia, rather than a violation of human rights. Since many comments made online on the ongoing Qatari hosting of the World Cup sound more anti-Islam than anti-Qatar, the individuals who supported Qatari laws communicated to the press that it's in fact anti-Muslim campaign, not the voice for human rights as they claim. If we bear their culture during the World Cup with beer or champagne, with fans having immoral dance parties outside stadiums, which is against our culture, they should also follow the rules of the state they're in. They further protested that Muslims never do what England fans did outside the stadium some time ago. Many of the Western fans also giggled and made fun of Qatar's losses by saying they can't buy it. Most of the European states are already out of the tournament, and many others, including Germany, whose team protested by covering up their mouths over the armband ban by FIFA. The teams at the forefront of all the nuisance are Germany, England, Denmark, and Belgium. The German Interior Minister was caught on camera wearing an armband banned by FIFA on orders of the law and order agencies in Qatar, which gave the Germany-Japan match a slightly more political turn.